The modern city of Lubeck was founded in 1143 as the first German city on the Baltic Sea. Its unique character served as an example for all the other members of the Hanseatic League. This picturesque medieval town is characterized by important cultural monuments, symbolizing its great past as a free Hanseatic city. Surrounded by water, Lubeck's historic old town has preserved a significant remnants of brick and stone architecture from the Gothic period. In 1987, Lubeck's old town was the first historical center in Germany officially to be declared a Cultural World Heritage Site. Behind the 100-year-old swing bridge, against the picturesque backdrop of Lubeck's old town, lies the city's port, home to many historical sailing ships which are still in use today. Lovers of traditional sailing ships have rescued old vessels, restored them, and berthed them in Untertrave. The ships come to life out on the Baltic Sea, and some of them are available for touristic use. Like other large cities in the late Middle Ages and early modern era, Lubeck had its share of day laborers and porters. They mostly lived in small houses called budens or huts, though unfortunately hardly any have survived. Buddenbrook's house has been dedicated to Heinrich and Thomas Mann, two of Lubeck's most famous sons. The museum aims to provide visitors with an entirely different literary experience. The Burgtor, or Citadel Gate, built in 1444, was Lubeck's northern city gate and an example of the brick Gothic style. The Holstentor, a fortified gate from the 15th century, is one of Lubeck's most significant landmarks, symbolizing not only the well-fortified medieval town, but also the self-confidence of the former queen of the Hanseatic League. The building was constructed to defend Lubeck against the Danes, who at that time ruled over Holstein. The imposing salt warehouses, once used to house the so-called white gold, stand on the left side of the Trave River. These six gabled houses, constructed in the 17th and 18th centuries, were used to store salt shipped on flat bags via the canal from Lüneburg for transport over the Baltic. The walls of the Holstentor are 1 meter thick on the town side and 3 meters toward the outside. Its front bears an inscription meaning harmony inside, peace outside. The Holstentor Museum houses a presentation dedicated to the life and work of Lubeck merchants. The exhibition is part of a larger project, developed and presented by the federal states of Schleswig-Holstein and Mecklenburg-Vorpommern, named Kiln Fire Giants, Development of the Brick Gothic. The exhibition is on display at the Holstentor Museum on a permanent basis. The exhibition invites the visitor to travel back in time with the Lubeck merchant, the very breed of brave and talented merchants to whom Lubeck owed its glory. The merchant class helped shape commerce, politics, culture, law, and society during the heyday of the Hanseatic League. Standing proudly on Lubeck's market square, the town hall is considered one of the oldest and most magnificent of its kind in Germany. The present-day town hall was built in the 13th century as a cloth hall and emporium, and at that time comprised 3 houses. The long wing on granite pillars was built as a new festival hall between 1298 and 1308. The arcades were where the goldsmiths had their stalls, very close to the town council, so that a close eye could be kept on them. The Renaissance Gallery, constructed of Gotland sandstone, was installed in front of the town hall in 1570. It is adorned with the coats of arms of the Hanseatic towns and Lubeck councillors. The high southern wall with its 3 pointed towers, the so-called giants, dates from the 13th century, though it achieved its present form in 1435. 2 windholes were created to prevent a gust of wind from blowing down the wall. Those who follow the European route to the brick Gothic and visit the medieval city center or nearby villages will not only admire the impressive historical monuments of past eras, but also feel the ubiquitous influence of the once mighty Hanseatic League. Traces of Viking invasions, the knights of various orders, as well as the Protestant Reformation of the 16th century, left their mark on the region. The route is characterized by its wealth of churches, with their ornate steeples soaring skyward, magnificent town halls, decorated town gates, and defensive walls encircling the fortified city. This wing, with its green glazed tiles, windholes, turrets, sun, and golden pennons, was added in 1442. Brick Gothic is characterized on the one hand by the lack of figural architectural sculpture, widespread in other styles of Gothic architecture, but impossible to achieve using brick, and on the other by its creative subdivision and structuring of walls, using built ornaments in a contrasting color between red bricks, glazed bricks, and white lime plaster. On the left, behind the passage, is the town hall, an elegant black edifice capped with 4 spires. To the right stretches an arcade paved with cobblestones. St. Mary's, the Church of the Council of the Hanseatic city of Lubeck, is the 3rd largest church building in Germany. Built between 1250 and 1350, its construction took some 100 years. Each of the church's 2 spires is constructed of some 1.2 million bricks. Soaring nearly 125 meters, they make St. Mary's the tallest building in Lubeck. The colossal structure is characterized by its 5-meter thick church wall, while its vault rises nearly 40 meters above street level. Next to the entrance, the Devil's figure on the Devil's Stone, a sculpture by Rolf Köhler from 1999. The massive towers, flying buttresses, arched buttresses, and the mighty central nave are characteristic features of the French Gothic. But the people of Lubeck were the first to build these forms in brick, which made for a simpler, less ornate style. The brick Gothic style would soon be imitated by other towns in the region. The church's awesome atmosphere has been breathed by centuries of Lubeckers and reflects the city's former might. Lubeck is graced by many historic churches, one of the most impressive the Lubeck Cathedral, better known as simply the Dome. The Romanesque Cathedral, a 3-nave pinnacled basilica, may well be Lubeck's oldest architectural monument, founded during the rule of Duke Henry the Lion of Saxony in the 12th century. A display of medieval architecture at its finest, this magnificent Lutheran cathedral is built of red brick. Famous for its twin towers soaring skyward, the dome has become one of Lubeck's iconic structures. This Romanesque cathedral was consecrated in 1247, though between 1266 and 1335 it was converted into a Gothic-style building, with side aisles raised to the same height as the main aisle. The nave is built in the Romanesque style, while the aisles in the east choir are in the Gothic style. The interior of the cathedral is completely white. Damage caused by Allied bombing in 1942 led to the subsequent redecoration of the dome's interior to reflect the aesthetic of Lutheran ecclesiastical ceremonies. The side naves, with their splendid sepulchral chapels and massive sarcophagi, are in the 18th century Baroque style. Other sculptures, pictures, gravestones, and chandeliers from various periods adorn the hall. The Lubeck Cathedral houses several works of art, including the 17-meter-tall triumphal cross by Bernd Noeke from the 15th century. Since 1477, the huge triumphal crucifix, with its majestic figure of the suffering Christ, has dominated the cathedral's interior. Carved wooden vines twist around the crucifix, making this cross a tree of life. The triumphal cross and screen in Lubeck's St. Jacobi Cathedral date from the time of the building's construction in the 15th century. The Heiligengeist or Holy Spirit Hospital was built by Lubeck's merchants to care for the old and infirm. Through the hospital's main entrance and past the central hall is a short church with 3 naves. A pair of sturdy pillars support a stellar vault, thus dividing a pair of holy paintings in 2. Here, St. Mary is depicted on the altar of the Virgin of the protecting cloak. 23 pictures from the 15th century recount the story of Elizabeth von Thuringen, a noblewoman and benefactress of the poor. The old city of Lubeck, with its many noble residences, public monuments, churches and salt storehouses from the medieval and Renaissance periods, displays a wealth of well-preserved examples of the brick Gothic style.